The year was 1952. The world was recovering from the ravages of war. Queen Elizabeth II ascended to the throne. The first commercial airliner took flight. And of course, back in India, we were celebrating India's 5th year as an independent country. Now, at the same time, Rolls-Royce came up with this excellent example of open-top luxury motoring, the Silver Dawn. Now, fast forward 64 years to 2016. At a time when the company is at the cusp of another metamorphosis and drawing inspiration from the Silver Dawn of 1952, they've come up with this, the Dawn, a car that the company quite simply claims is the sexiest Rolls-Royce ever built. Now, we've flown halfway across the world to South Africa to find out if this is just a Wraith convertible or something much more. Talking about new beginnings, let's talk about the new name, the Dawn. What about it? Well, it's a deviation from the usual dreary sounding names like the Wraith or the Ghost or the Phantom.
Eerie names of elusive creatures that make their mysteries in the dark of night. Well, if the nights are always darkest before dawn, it follows that the dawn must herald a new light.
The Rolls-Royce are very certain about the fact that they don't want to call this a Wraith convertible, in that a lot of the components, a lot of the body panels, a lot of the engineering that's gone into the Dawn is brand new. But the things that have been carried forward, of course, is the basic architecture. So the same chassis and the same 6.6-litre V12 block, that remains the same, albeit with a lot of changes. Of course, you don't take a convertible to the Cartier Concours d'Elegance or the Villa d'Este or Pebble Beach with the roof up. So let's find out what it's like with the roof down. So you can get the roof down at speeds below 50 kilometers an hour, and the entire process takes about 22 seconds.
The roof retracting process is dead silent. Well, of course it is. Such a Rolls-Royce-y thing. The folding roof reveals 4 seats, all equally usable to the Dawn's credit. Sure, you miss out on the Starlight headliner with a canvas roof, but how does that really matter when it opens up to the real sky and stars for you to behold?
Since this is a convertible, obviously Rolls-Royce have had to add reinforcements to the chassis to make it a little bit more firmer. So all the reinforcements that Rolls-Royce claim that have been made are very low down, so the center of gravity is quite low. That kind of helps the dynamics of the vehicle. The other thing that helps is the fact that the doors are hinged on the B pillar instead of the A pillar, so that they're actually hinged at the strongest part of the car, which means Rolls-Royce haven't had to make the additional reinforcements at the A pillar.
Rolls-Royce also wants to market the Dawn as the most silent convertible ever built. And with the roof up, it is almost as insulated from the outside world as the Wraith is, which is commendable. The Rolls-Royce 6.6-litre twin-turbo V12 will soon have to make way for greener powertrains. Could be smaller engines, could be alternative powertrains, but at the moment it continues to serve the Dawn.
Now, the basic construction of the engine, the powertrain, the transmission hasn't really changed. It's the same 6.6-litre V12, but it's tuned more towards the Ghost as opposed to the Wraith, in that it doesn't have the same sense of urgency or the same response as the Wraith, but it's a whole lot more relaxed, and that's what this car is meant for.
The accelerator pedal has been remapped to increase the response in the mid-range instead of the low end. The ever-faithful 8-speed ZF gearbox still does duty very ably, and it suits the driving characteristics of the Dawn. It also borrows the satellite-aided transmission system that debuted on the Wraith, which gives the gearbox a GPS-based intuition that easily trumps human judgment. It essentially anticipates the road conditions ahead, gauges your driving style, and preps the gearbox for changes accordingly. Considering that Rolls-Royce claims this to be the most rigid convertible in the world, the dynamics should be identical to the Wraith. Well, they aren't.
The suspension isn't brand new. It's got a new redesigned spring, it's got a new anti-roll bar, but essentially the basic architecture remains the same. So you have the same magic carpet ride quality that all Rolls-Royces are famous for. And the thing is, in this car, it feels a little bit stiffer, it feels a little bit firmer, but that's to do with the tuning of the suspension that they think best suits the character of the new Dawn.
Talking specifically about Indian conditions, the Dawn also features ride height adjust, which actually debuted on the Wraith, which for our wonderful road infrastructure and our superb speed breakers will be an absolute boon. Nope, not apologizing for the sarcasm. With over-engineered cars like the Dawn, you often have to don a large magnifying glass and your pickiest journalistic tools to find faults, and more often than not, they're personal.
Rolls-Royce say this is one of the quietest cabins, even with the roof down. Now, they've done a lot to make sure that the wind buffeting and the drag against the wind is reduced to a bare minimum. You can see that with the rake of the front windscreen as well. But the fact is, there is a little bit of wind buffeting inside the cabin. You can see my hair's already a mess. But what they're saying is, in the production versions, they will be providing wind deflectors at the back, which should help considerably reducing the wind inside the cabin.
What is so attractive about the Dawn is something I can't say about many of the modern day soft tops. It looks handsome even with the roof up. The 6-layered fabric manages to hide the ribs of the retracting mechanism and gives it a pleasing form. The simplicity of its design is easy on the untrained eye, but upon closer inspection you will appreciate the sheer impact of lines. The windscreen has been raked even further back than the Wraith, the signature Parthenon grille bars have been recessed ever so slightly, and Lady Thornton, or the spirit of ecstasy as some of you know her, leans further forward. In fact, the whole car seems like it is inclined forth. The insides are an interesting concoction of contradictions. You have a minimalistic ergonomic arrangement adorned by the best quality of materials you can imagine. Much as they did with the Wraith, Rolls-Royce is aiming to serenade new customers with the Dawn. La Dolce Vita, they say, as they parade their newest soft-top convertible.
So what is La Dolce Vita? Well, it's this phrase that Rolls-Royce of today likes to associate with very often. What it means in Italian is the good life. And come to think of it, open-top, uber luxurious motoring on some of the best roads in the world with spectacular views like that. Yeah, this is La Dolce Vita.